Hello and welcome to the Trevor Roberts Talkfest podcast. Tonight we're going to talk about episode 4 of The Bachelor. I am super excited to talk about it. Tonight's episode was the best episode so far. But before we jump into that, I am going to talk a little bit about something called the Hard 75 or the 75 Hard. Um, but I just got to say right off the bat that I've got my coffee with me. I've got a tea with me. I am very tired. I'm going to try to bring the energy. As tired as I am, I'm excited to talk about the podcast. It is late. Just finished the episode, so it's totally fresh in my mind. I took a lot of notes. I'm just going to go through the notes. I feel like the best way tonight's episode just flowed in such a perfect way, and I took some good notes. So we're going to go through those. Um, but just life right now with the 75 hard is completely full. It's just full day after full day after full day. Um, Today's day 2 of the 75 hard, so I shouldn't say 3 full days, but life is always kind of full for me. Just with, I'm sure it is for everybody, but when two kids, work, dog, gotta spend time with the dog, trying to do the podcast, trying to spend time with the kids, quality time. So it always feels like I have a lot going on, but the 75 hard, um, it really is like boom, boom, boom. Lots of stuff on your to-do list, that's for sure. So let's just jump into 75 hard. So it was really exciting for me as um somebody that likes to have something to do always. I'm always like wanting to take on some challenge or push myself to do something hard. I started off doing some long runs. I've done a couple half marathons. I eventually got to a marathon. Those were kind of challenging, and the pressure of like having an upcoming event that's public really pushes me in kind of a difficult way that I also really like. Studying for a hard test or anything in life that challenges you a little bit, that's hard and there's a big achievement at the end. I always like those things. Doesn't mean I always succeed at it. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I totally fail. Sometimes I get a third of the way in or 10% of the way in, and I'm just like, I can't do it. Like, there's too much in life going on, or maybe something shifts and you have to like totally shut things down in your life and focus on one thing, and you just aren't able to achieve everything. But whenever I can actually pull through and do it, that feeling that you get of accomplishment, and usually in the process you learn something about yourself and you grow in a certain way. So someone like, okay, so where did I start with that? What was exciting to me about the 75 hard was that my wife Alex came to me and said she wanted to do it. And Alex is somebody that um, has accomplished a lot of really hard things, but doesn't seek them out. She's not intentionally trying to find things that are hard to do and then being like, yeah, I want to go do that. Alex likes to create things. She loves being a mother and trying to be a mom in a way that is giving the most fulfilling life. So she's going above and beyond, not just like doing the daily duties of being a mom, but thinking like, how can I make this wonderful creation for our kids, for our home? How can I add something in that doesn't have to be there, but I'm just going to do it to better everyone's lives around us? And she's always putting other people first. She's always thinking about others, which is such an amazing quality, something that I could use more of. I'm almost always thinking about what is a challenging thing I can do to better myself so that hopefully I can be better for the family. Whereas her approach is always more like thinking of others first, putting herself in the back burner, and there's less accomplishments that you get to put on your little resume later when you do it that way, or at least it can appear to be that way sometimes. And when she first came across the 75 hard, I hadn't heard of it. She told me today that it was something she was like, no, definitely not. And then she thought more about it. And what she really liked about it was that it was all about discipline. There's certain things you have to do, but it's not so much about um, doing them in this extremely hard way. It's about, can you do all of them every day? And if you don't, if you miss one thing, even once, one day, then you have to start the 75 days over. And so it's truly just about discipline. Some people probably make it more serious than that, and they I think it can even have some negative effects on you if you're really hard on yourself, but it doesn't have to be that way. So what it is you have to do 75 consecutive days, and you do a gallon of water. So that's a pretty common thing. And Alex and I have both found that to be the hardest part of it, because it's just a lot of water. Like in the morning, it's not that bad. In the middle of the day, it's not that bad. And then you find yourself getting like, okay, I've only got an hour and a half before bedtime, and I've got 30 ounces of water, and I need to basically chug it. And then you're in the bathroom all the time. And it's like, really, you just don't need quite that much. But that's the number one. So it's important to drink it throughout the day. Number two is you got to take a picture of yourself every day. It's just a progress picture. It's it's not hard at all to do that, but you just have to remember to do it. And almost on day one, I like was going to bed and I was like, oh, I got to take this picture. So that one's pretty easy. And then there's, you got to exercise twice a day for 45 minutes. They cannot be consecutive, so you can't do an hour and a half. So two 45-minute sessions, and one of them has to be outside. And this is one of those things where it's like, how hard do you want to make it? I've been choosing, we're on day two. Tomorrow's going to be day three. So I've chose to do 45 minutes of strength training with weights, but we have a Peloton. I might do that sometimes. Like I might do yoga. I might stretch the whole time. I mean, I probably won't do that, but I might include some stretching sessions and some meditation and then do yoga. I don't know. For me, I'm just starting off with the weights. I'm really into that right now, but maybe after doing weights 15 days in a row, I'll just want to do a couple yoga days, like let my body recover, sort of. And then the walk, like the outside part, I'm kind of taking a little bit easier approach and being like, I'm going to take the dog on a walk. Or day one, we went to an outdoor, almost like a nature area where you can walk around, and we took the kids and I pulled the wagon. But really, it was just like a walk. And today's walk with our dog Ghost was awesome. Got to see our new neighborhood a little bit, but it's not that, I'm not making that one that stressful. And Alex isn't either. She's just spending time with the kids outside, trying to be active where you're physically moving the whole time. You certainly don't want to just sit down and like listen on your phone or something. It'd be using intentional movement, but that one we're not doing that serious. Then there's a diet portion. That's the next part. So in the diet can also be mentally and physically challenging if you allow it to be. Alex is doing no soy and hers. So otherwise not too bad. Like she's not weighing herself every day. We definitely don't believe in that. She's not, there's no certain goals she's trying to hit of weight loss. We haven't talked about weight loss at all. She's not being super critical about it. It's just during a period of time where she was pregnant and breastfeeding, she removed soy out of her life, and so she's doing that again. She's just going to go back to that because there's a lot of positives of removing soy. Um, for me, what I'm doing is I'm doing intermittent fasting, and some people like to do where you sleep in, or not even sleep in, but you just don't eat until like the afternoon, and then you eat for 6 hours and then you go to bed. Breakfast is such a huge part of our family. So we get up, we do all of our morning routines, and then we just have this huge family breakfast. We've got the house ready. We have music playing while we're getting the house ready, kind of loud. We don't do TV in the mornings. We play music. We dance a little bit. We open up all the window shades. We get the couch. We put these couch cushions on at night, so that or couch covers, because our dog goes shed so much, and then we switch that out during the day. And he just doesn't get on the couches during the day. It's crazy. Um, but and then I make a bunch of eggs, and we have oatmeal and like peanut butter and bananas, yogurt with honey. Sometimes we do bagels. Sometimes we do bacon or um, Canadian bacon, whatever. But we just like sometimes we do berries in a little fruit bowl. We make coffee, and we just have family breakfast. We look out our window and see the backyard, and it's like my favorite time. We talk about what we have going on that day. We start off the day spending time together every day. And eggs are really a really good source of protein, in my opinion, and they're really healthy for you, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of benefits to them. And I was telling Alex that if you don't eat breakfast, then you're probably not going to eat eggs every day. Now, that's okay. You don't have to eat eggs every day, and you don't have to eat breakfast. Some people believe that it's not good for you to eat breakfast. I don't know what is true, and I don't know, like, I can't help someone that is like super serious about dieting. They need to go to a nutritionist or do their own research. But I just think that for our family, breakfast is like a staple. It's like if you were to live with us for a week, one of your biggest takeaways was like they have a really cool breakfast hour to hour and a half that they like to do together. And eggs are like the foundation of that. I'm starting off the day with a good amount of protein. Um, and so I just wanted to do this massive breakfast. I also believe that intermittent fasting is good for longevity. And so what I'm doing is just having a big breakfast, lots of healthy foods, lots of protein. So everything I'm pretty much doing is like non-processed foods, eggs, plain yogurt, no extra flavoring at all, honey. It's organic honey. Um, Sometimes I do oatmeal, but it's organic oats, um, with really clean peanut butter, bananas in there, and cinnamon. And then sometimes I'll do something like a bagel that's almost like my treat that I'm getting. Then I mean, I'd say once a week we're doing bacon or Canadian bacon, something like that. But it's a pretty big portion. I mean, I'm tucking a lot of eggs. And so after breakfast, I'm just like, good. And eggs make you feel totally full. I have a little thing of espresso, no milk or anything like that. And so I just feel like I've started off the day, lots of protein, healthy, unprocessed foods. I'm full. It's a great start to the day. Hopefully got a workout in by then. So then it's like I know that I'm going to be done eating at 2. So I got to go to work, doing my job, taking some meetings, doing whatever, and then try to go down, get lunch in, chicken, fish, something like that, veggies, fruit, like to eat an apple, snack on nuts in between, and that's it. And then the rest of the day, it's tea and coffee. So I do feel like I'm getting hungry. Like tonight, I'm staying up really late. I knew I wanted to watch The Bachelor. I knew I was going to do this podcast. It's after midnight, and I did get hungry. I was hungry watching The Bachelor. It's like, who doesn't want to eat something while they're watching a fun show? I'm a big believer that if you're watching a really awesome show, you got to have a really awesome snack. And for the next 73 days, I'm not going to be eating after 2. This isn't something I've done before. I had tried it for the previous 3 weeks, and I really liked it on the days I did it. But other than that, I'd never done it. And so it's a hard thing. I mean, like, you definitely get hungry. The positives of it, though, I feel energy. Once you kind of get into it, you feel a ton of energy. Like, I just feel great. Another positive is when it's 8:30, 9 o'clock, you should go to bed. Like, yeah, it's after midnight tonight and I'm staying up late. If I wasn't doing this tonight, I would have been in bed around 9:30. and probably falling asleep at 10. And so instead of what I used to do is go down into the kitchen and get out a snack, like not something terrible, but maybe chips and hummus or pretzels and hummus. I love hummus. Um, but maybe like cheese sticks, maybe um, just nuts. I mean, even though nuts aren't bad for you, it's like I was just eating like probably 200 to 500 calories right before bed, like for no reason, just because I'm bored and I'm going to watch YouTube on my phone for like half an hour to an hour. And I would just sit there and smash it. I mean, having a great time, like watching YouTube, eating a bunch of crap, and then going to bed. And now instead of doing that, I just make a tea. Tea is totally acceptable when you're fasting, so no milk or anything, no anything, just like water in the tea bag. And then I'd like have a little bit of it and then go to bed. And especially like reading, if you read right before bed, it's like way stronger than melatonin. For me, it just makes me want to pass out. Alex can read like no other. She could read all night. Not me. If I'm sort of tired and it's like bedtime and I start to read and like 3 pages in, I'm like out cold. So it's perfect. And then you're just going to bed, you're getting a good night's sleep, you're not eating right before bed. um I think it has a ton of benefits. So that's how I'm doing it now. You say diet, but I can eat whatever I want during that time. Now I do eat pretty clean and healthy, but at the same time, like if I want to eat something that I shouldn't or whatever, I don't really care that much, because it's like I know for the most part I'm eating clean and healthy, and also for these 75 days I'm fasting. So it's a good thing. I believe it's good for your longevity. I know I'm eating mostly clean and healthy. I know especially I'm never doing anything bad for that breakfast. It's just what am I snacking on and what am I doing for lunch? I mean, I'm not going to be after these 75 days. I'll probably continue fasting because I enjoy it. But there will be times where it's like you're going to a friend's birthday party and they have a bunch of cake and who knows what for dinner, or going out to dinner with Alex, or getting pizza night with the kids. I want to have fun and live an enjoyable, cool, fun life where everybody's like, okay, this is a memory. We're doing a party. But at the same time, it's about what are your main habits that you consistently do. And um I think that this is a good thing, and it's been a great experience so far. I think that might be it. So it's oh yeah, and then the last thing is read 10 pages of a nonfiction book. So I'm doing a podcast series right now on the third door. That's a nonfiction book. So I'm just working my way through it and I'm talking about it. But I have like 10 books that I was already going to do before Alex even brought this up to me. And I'm just reading through them, working my way through them, making notes, and I'm doing podcasts on them. So like I was going to do that anyway. And I like to read. So when I was walking Ghost today, I listened to Audible, and I was listening to Game of Thrones, the third book. And also, I'm reading an Agatha Christie book for fun, and I'm not talking about that on the podcast. So, I'm pretty much reading 3 to 4 books right now anyway. I'm sort of reading Dracula on the side, but it's so hard to get through. It's like I can only do so much. And because I take breaks, I kind of have to catch myself back up. I just want to finish it. I just like this is what I'm talking about, where I say it's sort of a challenging thing and I just have to do it. I don't know if I even like it that much, but anyway, I digress. Let's talk about The Bachelor. So I'm going to switch over to my notes here and just go into that. First thing I want to say is it was my favorite episode, but definitely the least amount of Jesse Palmer so far. And I don't know what that says, because I love Jesse Palmer. He's awesome. He is the best host. I think I probably have a man crush on the dude. Um, so I don't know. It was kind of weird that he wasn't in this episode so much. It was just a good episode. It really didn't have anything to do with Jesse not being in it. It's just sort of an awkward thing to point out there, but um, yeah, the episode was just great. All right. Okay, last thing before we jump into it. If you're listening to this on however you listen to your podcasts and you're not watching it on YouTube, totally fine. Um, I listen to a lot of my podcasts that have a YouTube channel rather than doing the YouTube channel. But I would just ask if you could go to the YouTube channel and subscribe. And the reason I ask that is I'd really love to start doing YouTube lives. And in order to do YouTube lives, you have to have 50 subscribers. And I'm just getting started and I don't want to do any fake ones or anything like that. So I have like 5. So really just trying to get up to 50. I hate even asking, but that would mean a ton to me if anybody could go and just help me get up to 50 so that way I can start doing YouTube lives. Okay. Now, let's talk about the episode. Okay. So we begin with the girls talking about Maria and Sydney drama. And you just know that that's where the show left off. And that's where we're going to begin today. And it really was a perfect foreshadowing for the episode because every single thing that was happening, whether it was the one-on-one date, the group date, it was all just like cutting. It was like part of what you're getting and then cut to Maria and Sydney drama and then back to whatever it is, one-on-one date, Maria and Sydney drama, group date, Maria and Sydney drama, getting the 2-on-1 card, group date. It's like everything flowed so well and they kept reminding you of the Maria and Sydney drama. And listening to the Your Mom and Dad podcast with Evan and Jess, they really theorized that Maria was going to go home early. And then listening to Almost Famous podcast last week with Ben and Ashley and their personal relationship with Sydney. And one of my biggest takeaways from that was that Ashley I talked directly with Sydney because they're friends. And I got the vibe, sort of reading between the lines, that Sydney wasn't going to make it very long and that she didn't have a great experience. So I really felt like, okay, they're both going to go home somehow. And we don't know. It's to be continued. This episode really crushed it with the flow. The group date was good. The one-on-one date was good. The Maria and Sydney drama was good. And then epic cliffhanger at the end. So they just knocked everything out of the park with this episode. All right. So, and then Jesse Palmer, basically the only time we get to see him this episode, he comes out and he lets us know that the girls are heading to Malta. And my first thought was, okay, I've heard of Malta. I don't have anything good or bad to say about Malta. And my first thought was, I have no clue where Malta is. Where is Malta? I don't know. And then they did show it on the map just for a second, and it's like right at the bottom of Italy. And you can kind of see Sicily off to the side. I feel like my life has just been throwing me a lot of Sicily right now because I'm a huge fan of White Lotus, and season 2 is in Sicily. But the other thing is escaping me. But oh no, it was Equalizer 3 takes place in Sicily. And both of those are in Palermo. And it's just like, okay, and then I've been to a lot of Italy. And so it was just like, okay, I love Italy. I love both of those shows and what they showed of Sicily. I really am feeling like I need to go to Sicily. And then Malta, I don't want to in any way offend anyone from Italy or Malta, but it just, to me, it seemed like very similar to Italy. It was like, it looked very similar. They had the churches. They had a lot of seemed like the architecture was very similar. And so I don't know, maybe it's just a Mediterranean thing. Like all the countries right there in the Mediterranean have some stuff in common. I don't know. I don't know my history well enough to know if they were all sort of under the same rule at the same time and maybe they had like influences around the same periods of time. Like, I don't know. It's fascinating to me, but definitely reminded me of Italy. So, okay, so Lexi gets her one-on-one. And to me, my first thought was makes total sense that he picked Lexi. I don't know. I don't know for sure how this works, but I do believe that the lead gets to be like, okay, this is who I want to go in the one-on-one with. And right off the bat in episode 1, just watching the girls basically come out of the limo, I made like a guess, like a rough guess of top 4. And it was like Maria, Lexi, Daisy, and Jen. And Daisy, Jen, and Lexi now have had one-on-one dates. I feel like I'm missing someone. I think I don't know if it was Rachel. And I think Rachel's like up there. Like, I don't think she's top 4. I don't know if she's beating, well, she's probably going to beat out Maria because I just don't know if I think Maria's going to make it, even though I think she should. But Rachel's up there too. I don't know who the other, I'm thinking I must be missing one of the one-on-one dates, but maybe not. But anyway, actually, I'm probably not because there was probably no one-on-one date in episode 1. So I don't know. I'm not going to double check right now, but it was for sure Lexi, Jen, and Daisy, and they're definitely high up on his list. And you can just see that he has a connection with them. So I really think he's picking them. Anyway, so it makes total sense. The date is in Valletta, Malta. She says blue and green are her favorite colors. She references that many times. Joey has green eyes. She talks about how she likes the green eyes. Joey says whenever he's traveling, he likes to check out the history of a city, which I'm really into that as well. He says he feels safe and seen with Lexi, which is pretty cool. Um, Everybody gives him different vibes. Like, I like that even though Joey doesn't show us a lot on his face of what he's feeling, the way he describes the way he feels when he's with a certain connection or certain person, it is very different. Like the way he feels with Maria is she keeps him on his toes and he feels he's like the mystique and he never knows what to expect with her. And the way he feels with Daisy is very giddy and happy, and it's just like pure happiness, and you can see it come out when he's with her, and it's really all her. I mean, like that's just like that's who she is at the core. And I mean, I think I'm even when I'm looking at her on the screen, I'm like, how could you not be incredibly happy being in her presence just because of the way she is? And he says with Lexi, he feels safe and seen. And, that she does give off those vibes. Then we cut to Sydney and Maria drama. Sydney, I have to say, numerous times in the episode does not come off great. She's not like she just what I I kept thinking about Ashley I, and she was talking about how what she heard from Sydney was like she's not getting a great edit. She's trying to stick up for her friends. She's a good person. You don't like she doesn't maybe always come across great, but once you get to know the real Sydney, she's one of your favorite people. And that's not coming across in the show. I believe that I like Ashley a lot. And because she's been on Bachelor in Paradise a couple times and she's come back as a guest and she was on The Bachelor as a contestant and all that, like I've seen a ton of Ashley enough to know that I think she's pretty cool. I think that she's a go getter. She has a great marriage with Jared, at least from what we've been able to see. She's starting a business. Like, I think highly of Ashley and she likes Sydney. And Sydney's a business owner. She owns a small boutique in Rhode Island. I shouldn't say small. I don't know if that's true. But she owns a business in Rhode Island. I think it's a boutique. And Sydney likes her. Being a business owner is not easy to do. She just doesn't, I don't know if it's the edit, but it seems like she's just like infatuated or she's obsessed with this drama with Maria, and she doesn't care at all about, I mean, she says she cares about her attempt at building a connection with Joey, but it doesn't come across that way. It comes across like the only thing she cares about is this drama with Maria, and she cannot move on from it. She says she's exhausted and she's lethargic, and she wants to make sure Joey knows that Maria is the problem. And again, I don't know if that's just the edit, but it really feels like she can't think about anything else. Okay, so then we cut back to Lexi, and she's at the church and she's being really emotional about her grandpa. She says she's moved. She starts crying a little bit. And I've been in these churches, not in Malta, but they had some in Italy. They have some ridiculous ones in France. I've been to in Lyon and Paris. But you've seen them, like the Notre Dame inside is like that. And you've seen them, like they have these churches in England and Spain. And so again, it made me think about the history. Like I've only been to a few countries outside of the United States, but I don't know if Ireland had anything quite like that. But um but France, got to see a lot of different cities in France and like went into churches in all of them, and then got to see a lot of different cities in Italy, and a few of them had churches like that. So I'm just like, okay, it must be a European thing that took place during a certain period of time. But when you're in that church, it's like it seems impossible to happen today. Like, however they did it wouldn't happen today because it would take too long, it would take too much money, and like nobody would just invest the time in doing that. And it's just like churches do not look like that today. And it's literally mind blowing. And you can see on the show, like Lexi is moved just sitting in the church, just looking at the beauty. And it doesn't, I mean, it really just isn't gonna, no one's gonna get it unless you've seen it in person, even though you're seeing it on screen, because it's so crazy when you're looking at the intricate details. The building is massive, and every little section of each wall is like, it looks like a hand carved, maybe there's an angel or something right here. And then there's another little design right here. And there's just like thousands of them that all look unique, that all look different, that look like they had to have been done by hand. And then, like, sometimes there's paintings on the ceilings, and then there's like an absurd amount of stained glass. And it's just like, it's just wild how these churches look. I totally got what she was saying. So then she says the priest said one of the most important pieces of building a marriage is building a family, which, I mean, what a coincidence. It's like rings true for her because that's her big thing is like she might not be able to have kids. And so she shares a little bit of that with Joey. But before we get to that, we cut back to the drama with Sydney and Maria. So we get Jess talking how the drama came with the girls to Malta. She's like, it didn't get left in Los Angeles. It is now in Malta. And we get the group date, and Sydney says she's being tortured, but she really is the one caught. But Maria's the one causing all this. Sydney says she doesn't deserve this, um, and it's all too much for one person to handle. And that just feels like drama, drama, drama. Does it need to be like? Is it that bad? I think Maria. Anyway, I'm going to talk about that enough, so we'll just jump back to Lexi. So Lexi's at the night portion of the date, and her dress looks amazing. Um, it does seem like they have like this crazy long walk up like this big steep hill to get to their dinner. And so that was kind of like, it was kind of funny. I don't think it was supposed to be funny, but it just felt like they're walking up this hill just like and go sit at this table and have their official night portion of the date. But she starts opening up about her condition. She says, it was all work, work, work. She moves to San Francisco, college, work, moves to New York for her job, and then she gets ill and she finds out she's diagnosed with stage 5 of endometriosis. Now, um, my wife Alex has not been diagnosed with endometriosis, but she suspects that she might have that. And I don't know. So Lexi saying that she's got stage 5 confirmed and she had actual surgery and it made it all the way up to her lungs. Not at all my wife's situation. It hasn't been diagnosed, maybe doesn't have it, no surgery. But I think that there's a possibility she feels like she might have it. And so we've taken it seriously. Now, we have been able to have two daughters, but before we had the daughters, we didn't know if we were going to be able to have them. And we had a lot of those serious conversations. And I felt like in the smallest way, Alex and I could kind of understand this exact conversation, because there's just this unknown of like, and we're going to be able to have kids? We don't know. And it was really cool that Joey, when she shares, like, Joey's reaction to Lexi sharing this couldn't have been better. And it was exactly how I felt about it too. He says, "Thank you for sharing." Um, he says he doesn't in any way make him want to run away, which was 100% how I felt too. He talks about other ways to create a family. Same thing we talked about. Things happen for a reason. She needs to know she is special. He says there's nothing wrong with her. Starts using her name. There's nothing wrong with Lexi. She appreciates him for his attitude on this. And I don't know if he's just really well articulately spoken because it's being recorded, or if he would always come across that well. I don't know if, like, just really handles all of these conversations really well. But Lexi, it gets really emotional because she says she just feels like she's being called to be a mom. She wants to be a mom. Joey wipes her tears away with his thumb, which was something that Jess from Your Mom and Dad called out that he does. And I immediately started like paying attention to see if he blinks, and I didn't see him blinking a lot, which is just weird. Um, She starts crying. He had a good response. She feels happiness in her heart. I really felt emotional when she said that because it just felt so true. She was crying. Um, she is here for him, and he continues to prove why. So it was just a great one-on-one. She gets the rose. I um, didn't know that that was what she was going to say. I mean, we've learned that this whole time that she potentially had something that made it so she might not be able to have kids. And endometriosis is just such a brutal thing because um, obviously a man. I don't know, but I've just heard about it from conversations with my wife that it can affect them, whether they have kids or not. It affects them. It affects their how they feel, every month. And it's an uncomfortable thing. There's a lot of unknowns. According to conversations with my wife, there's not uh, for sure concrete opinions of the doctor community on how to know and how to treat it and what does it mean. It's a lot of like she says, she describes it as you might not be able to have kids, but it's not like a definitive thing. You either like a lot of times you can't, but sometimes people do, and we don't really know. And you can try this and you can try this, but who knows? And my wife and I talked about other people that had it, and they tried different methods of getting pregnant and it worked. And then there were people that it didn't work, but they tried those same things. So I want to give it 100% respect that it is very serious and very, very emotional and hard to deal with, for especially for the woman in the situation. Um, but for a couple that is like trying to support each other, it is just a very um big deal thing that you want to make sure that, like, at least number one, that your partner's sharing with you and you can help. You can do whatever you can to be there for them and try to go through the experience with them. But I mean, obviously, like, that's something that the woman has to go through in that situation. I was like totally shocked when she said that because I didn't know that's what it was going to be. But the way Joey handled it was great. It was really emotional, and um, I felt like it just was the perfect summary of their connection too. Because like, he obviously in no way wanted to run away from it, but their connection has more of that emotional seriousness to it. and I don't know if it has as much of like the Daisy happiness and constantly flirting. Like there's just all cloud nine happiness, and with Lexi, it's more of like the mature, um, like there's really deep maybe love feelings and a special connection that way, but it doesn't seem to it might be missing a little bit of the giddiness and the fun. So I don't know, I could be wrong about that. All right, so let's move on to the group date. The first thing they say is that it was filmed at the location where Ned Stark's head was cut off at Fort Manuel. And I'm a massive Game of Thrones fan, so that was pretty sweet. And then they do 2 nights sword fighting. They say true love is worth fighting for. And the coolest part about this, I mean, I just hate group. Like, I do not like group dates. It's my least favorite part of the show. I'm always looking forward to like episode 6, 7, 8 when the group dates start getting really small and more intimate, and we get to know the actual people that are left. But anyway, this one was pretty cool. Because they did this thing where Joey just stood there, and each girl in front of the rest of them came up and just made eye contact. And Joey even says that he's really into focusing on eye contact. He says he's really big into it and sharing energy. And I love that, like making eye contact. And what is our energy? You can feel it. Like, I totally believe in that. It's a real thing. It's like, okay, we are into each other and we're feeling a vibe right now. And what is that? Like, and you get something different with every single person. Autumn, um, oh yeah, and it was interesting to hear from one of the girls, it might have been Autumn, but one of the girls said that it was interesting to see Joey's energy with the girls he spent more time with. And that would have been really obvious. Like, I just pictured myself in his shoes, and maybe two of them I think had been on a one. Like Daisy was there, and Jen was there, so they've for sure both been on one. So they probably had great energy. And then I think he has a really strong connection with Rachel and um, Kelsey A, Kelsey T, and just like what was the energy like? You would know that if you're somebody that probably hasn't had that, it's just a little awkward. Okay, so then there's the sausage game. And I have to say, I laughed out loud and I watched this by myself. So that was pretty cool. But like everybody's getting hit in the face with these spinning sausages. It was cool that Joey played with them. Autumn really committed to catching the sausage. We saw a lot of sausages hitting her in the face. She gets extra time with Joey. It did feel just nice that there wasn't like, at least for this portion, there wasn't like this whole thing where like obviously Autumn gave it her all, but somebody else won for some silly reason. So it was just cool that she actually got rewarded for giving it her all. We go to the night portion of the group date. Daisy and Joey talked about kids, potential family, kid names. Ocean, Colette, call her Coco, and Teddy was what she said. And the whole time you're just watching Joey like he's like on cloud nine when he's with her. I don't see how we could possibly send her home before hometowns. Like he's going to meet her family. Um and I know that like I started to notice on these one-on-ones that every contestant has like a thing, like a big vulnerable thing that they have to share. I don't know if that's just like new. I've only been watching the show for so many years now, and it's definitely become more popular where everyone has a thing. So like Daisy has the cochlear implant, and Jen had sort of the rough situation growing up where she had the relationship with her dad that deteriorated, and she kind of talks about that later on in the episode. Or she doesn't talk, she just alludes to how she trusts him, which is odd because it's been so quick. And so it kind of reminded me of that. But and then obviously Lexi has the endometriosis. So I don't know like if that's when you're applying to be on the show, you have to have a thing, or if everybody just has a thing and they really like pull it out of you. But I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. I just really noticed that these 3 one-on-one dates, the top 3 people, they've really got that thing. And it probably is true that if you share something like that, you would have a connection, because like Joey has to kind of be there for supportive there, and it just naturally is going to help develop their relationship. Um, but Daisy's like, I mean, she's just getting to hometowns after you can just see it clearly. Kelsey A, I think I want to say really quickly about their little interaction was I felt like like she was giving off these hardcore kissing vibes. Like if you've ever been in sort of a new part of a relationship with someone and they're obviously really into you and they are like, you can tell that they're you're in the middle of talking, but they're leaning in, and like they're leaning in closer because they're going to kiss you, and you're starting to lean in closer too, but you're sort of still talking, and you aren't like so into your relationship that you just make out and don't say anything. You still have to like talk a little bit. And she's like 100%. I knew they were about to shut up and start making out because of just the way she was sort of leaning in, even though it wasn't like a, we're not talking and like my head's tilting to the side and my eyes are starting to close. Like it wasn't like that. It was like she had her eyes wide open and she wasn't tilting her head at all. She was just these huge, big eyes, like, and I just knew she was gonna kiss him any moment. And Joey was big eyed too, but almost in like a, I definitely like he knew she was gonna do the kiss thing, right? But and his posture was perfect. Like he was like leaning back a little bit. And I knew he wanted to kiss her, but it looked like he was almost just like, we got to talk a little bit. Like, what, like, we have to use this time to build a connection a little bit. And I don't know, her vibes was just like hardcore kissing. And she has just this beautiful big face, big like lips and mouth area. Like some people have a small mouth and it's like you can't really tell. Their mouth doesn't move a lot when they're talking. Hers is like huge and you could like see all of her teeth. Um, I don't know. I just could. I was just like, okay, good strategy. Like going for kissing big time, and hopefully you get a rose that way. I think he likes her, but definitely a good strategy. Rachel has the glasses, and Joey brings out his own glasses and makes it all about Rachel. Like, okay, I told myself if you wore glasses, I was going to put on my glasses, and she says like, "Oh, you're blind," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm blind as a bat." But the only thing I was thinking is like, okay, I'm blind as a bat. Mine are negative 7.0 and negative 7.5, which if you know, like, you know, and my glasses are really thick. And I like get the kind where they like you pay a little extra and they take them and make them even thinner. Otherwise, they wouldn't fit in the frames. So if I didn't do that, they'd be like absurdly big and thick. And if she knows that he's blind because his glasses are thick, and that's always how you know, um, then did he take out his contacts? Like they didn't show that. He just whipped out his glasses and put them on. And if I like take my glasses off right now, I can't see anything. It's like totally blur. Like just I can see nothing. And he says he's blind as a bat, right? So if he just puts on glasses, he had to have taken out contacts. I just couldn't get over it. I was like, are they readers? Because you're not blind as a bat if they're readers. And if they're not readers, then what were you doing before when you didn't have glasses on? It just doesn't make sense. So I don't know. He must have taken out some contacts because I did notice that he just sort of had the glasses on after that, but I didn't know. I didn't pay close enough attention to know if it was the entire rest of the night. I'll have to go back and think about that. I just noticed that like the next couple of little conversations he did have the glasses on. But if he had them on the rest of the night, then he probably just took his contacts out. I don't know why I'm so focused on that, but I don't know. As somebody that is blind as a bat, I'm like, you can't just say that if you're not. Okay. Kelsey T, her vibe was really serious. um, she asked him, like, okay, like, she came across so serious in the beginning. She was like, all right, so, I need to know, what do you need from me so I can give it to you? And he said he's really easy. He just wants quality time. She says she wants action. Like, she needs some action. Like, she just wants to see something from him, like an action, like a physically doing something. And my takeaway was that, love language, her big thing that she wants is acts of service. Um, It'd be interesting for my wife and I to do this again. When I did it, I liked, my big thing that I wanted was words of affirmation, and my wife's was physical touch. But when we did it, she hadn't had any kids yet, and now that she's had 2 kids, she doesn't like seem to like physical touch as much. She kind of like says, "Don't touch me." So, um, I don't know. Maybe it'd be interesting to redo it. But acts of service is a tough one for me personally, because it's sort of like, doing the dishes or cleaning the house. And like, I like doing those things, but I don't want to do those things to like make someone happy, or if like I forget to do it, or, like if you do it one day, but not the next. I don't know. Acts of service is just not my favorite. Anyway, I don't want to come down on her for it, but the way it came across was like, yeah, it's just not my thing. Like acts of service. Um, Even gift giving, I think, is, everybody says gift giving is the worst one. I think it's way better than acts of service. All right, so, but he says his heart is fluttering when he talks to her. So he must like the serious talks, and it's not all just flirting for him. Also, she gets the rose. So, I mean, he really did have a good time with her. And then we cut to the girls getting the 2-on-1 card. Lexi's sitting in the middle, sort of keeping the peace, which I thought was perfect. Sydney just kept saying she's getting tortured. It's just ridiculous. And then we go back to the group date with the girls. He's talking with Jess. She says she has an instant connection. She feels herself falling for Joey. She gets a kiss. Um, Jess is not my favorite. I like I like her, and I'm not that into her, if that makes sense. Um, Now, to be fair, she probably wouldn't be into me. So I think it's okay that like I'm not into her, but I'm not trying to judge her with that. I just think I like her as almost like a character. Like, she's got the southern vibe. She moved to Denver. She moved to San Diego. She knows how to like pull a bunch of cards and do well on this show. And I really liked her in this episode. She came across a little bit more genuine than she had in the past. I think she has like different layers. Like, she's really cool. I didn't get the sense that Joey has a romantic interest there. I feel like it's like she's played all these cards, and that's gonna, like, because she's played the game so well, which The Bachelor is a game and she's rocked it. She's making it every week, and the producers are probably telling him like, you have to pick her. I firmly believe that the producers say like, okay, pick who you want, but these people are like, the ratings are all for these people, and they're showing up really good on camera. We're giving them a good edit, like and so therefore the producer's like, this person is making it another week. And it's probably in the beginning he's like handing out 22 roses. He's like, okay, I'm just picturing this, like they go from 32 women to 22 women after week 1. He gets one night with them, he gets the limo entrance, and then some of them he doesn't even talk to, and he's supposed to send 10 of them home, right? He's supposed to keep 22 of them. I'm sure that he's like, goes to the producers. They sit down. They've got like this giant board with all their faces on it, almost like a football team. And he probably is like, okay, these 5 or 6 or 7, I just like totally have a major connection with. And then these 5, I don't even know who they are. There's no connection at all. And so it's like, keep these. And then he's got to send 5 more home. And I'm sure it's just like the producers are like, well, don't send any of these people home. If you don't really care about this group, like, don't send any of these people home because the ratings are really good. And I'm sure that even like one of them, he was like no connection at all, but they're like crushing the ratings. The producers would probably be like, all right, fine. Like, there's like, we're gonna keep them, but you don't really care that much about this person, so they're going home because they're not doing anything for the ratings. And so anyway, it digressed there. It was a little bit of a bird walk, but like, Jess has just played the game so well, and she plays all the cards. Like, she played all of her cards in the beginning, and she's made it this far. And we didn't see like who goes home this week because it's a 2-part week or whatever. But I almost can guarantee you she's going to make it another week because she's the producer pick. Like, she's going to make it another week because she's played the cards right again. Kelsey T gets the rose. No one else is more deserving, Joey says. Always leaves the group setting, feeling with Kelsey T on his mind, which was interesting. I'm not getting that vibes from him, but Joey doesn't let us in a lot. I think he does like her a lot. I mean, I don't know if I think she's top 4, but I think he likes her. Now we're cutting to the 2-on-1 here. And we still got a ways to go. All right, this is good, though. All right, so we're cutting to the 2-on-1 rows. Maria is rocking a bold yellow dress. She looks incredible. Sydney looks like a boutique store owner in Rhode Island, and that could not be more accurate. She just reminded me of somebody that owned a boutique, somebody that you're walking in and it's like a girls only clothing store. I don't know what she owns, but where they have like all the little things on the table, and then there's the clothes that are overpriced, and it's just like a really aesthetically pleasing room to be in. Sydney calls Maria the devil. And then later in the episode, Maria says she thinks I'm the devil. That cannot be a coincidence. We then cut to Allison sticking up for Maria. Then we see Leah and Jess stick up for Sydney. So it's definitely like there's teams forming. Back to the 2-on-1. I really liked how Joey just like sort of shows up on his little mini boat while the other two are on their bigger boat. Maria says, Joey shows up and says, like, hey, that's a big boat. And Maria says, yeah, bigger than yours for sure. And all I could think was Maria's family. Like, she said it in a way that she wasn't that impressed by the big boat, but she was like, yeah, it's bigger than yours because he had that little tiny boat. And I don't know. I'm not articulating it the way she said it. And the way she said it made me think like, yeah, it's a big boat. It's bigger than yours. But it felt like there was more to the story. Like, this isn't that big of a boat. My family owns a yacht and we sail around in it because we're royalty from Canada, and we own sprinkles. We own all the sprinkles in the world. And so I'm obsessed with Maria, and I love the way she said that. But so Joey takes them on a small boat to explore the Blue Grotto in Malta. And I don't really feel like we even got to see the grotto that much, but it felt like Maria was in. I've been in these situations where it's like 3 people, and and like you are sort of not vibing with one of the 3, and all 3 of you know it, and it's just awkward as heck. And it seemed like Maria was able to connect with Joey despite that, and Sydney wasn't. She was all in her head. She hates Maria. Sydney's claustrophobic. She's feeling claustrophobic because Maria's there. And Maria says misery loves company, which I felt like was so true. Maria calls Sydney a vampire. And as much as I love Maria, I am starting to feel like there's got to be some truth into, like, Sydney is not making up all of it. Maria is not a bully. She's not a mean person, but she's intimidating, and Sydney isn't having a good time around Maria. And there are other women that are friends with Sydney that can see what Sydney's complaining about, and they dislike Maria for it. And so I can see how it's a thing. And Maria is just like so confident, so bold. She speaks her mind. She's so loud. She has such a big presence. that she just like rubs these people the wrong way. Um, so it all makes sense. Sydney gets to talk to him first. Um, she went into the week really scared, told Leah. She says that, okay, so this is a big thing. I don't want to breeze over this. Sydney tells Joey that Maria told Leia, to shut the fuck up. She says a lot of bad stuff's happening in the house, and Maria is the common denominator. Joey doesn't enjoy drama. He says it's hard for him because it's different from what he gets. Maria's time, she appears very happy. She's looking for clarity, was very happy, but says this is, or Joey says he was happy, but this has derailed him. He didn't say that to Sydney. So he doesn't tell Sydney that like he used to be happy with her. And then this is the part. So Joey says, okay, Sydney says, you told Leia to shut the fuck up. And Maria says, absolutely not. I did not say that. Now, basically, I'm just going to skim through this a little bit. Joey ends that conversation with her. You can tell that he like still is into Maria, but he just doesn't know what to make of all this. So then he kind of like he realizes like Sydney's saying you said this, Maria's saying I didn't say this, and he's just not going to get anywhere. And he's like basically throwing up his hands and being like, I'm not going to get to the truth of this actually. It's just not going to happen. So he goes back. But then he's gone for a second and we see Sydney and Maria together. And Maria starts off like, I'm not going to say a whole lot here, but she does end up saying like, you said that I said shut the F up to Leia. And then she kind of repeats it and she's got this big smile on her face. And Sydney's just like not, she's got this little like, this little like meek face just sitting there. And Maria's like, you do realize, you know, we are on camera the entire time. And Sydney in this moment, very, like I watched very specifically to see her reaction. She does not double down at all. She shuts down. So I firmly believe that Maria did not say that. And Sydney just told Joey that as if it was a fact. She said it with confidence. She doesn't, she used very specific words there. And the F word in that way, using it in that way exactly, telling someone to shut the F up, that is pretty bad. That's a big bully thing. You say that, especially in front of other people. That's like taking away Leia's voice. It's like I'm owning you as a person. Like you don't get a voice, you don't get to speak, you don't get to defend your friendship, and especially if you say that in front of other people. And I really don't think Maria said that. So for Sydney to just tell Joey that she did is a big deal. And I don't know. I think Sydney is just, I don't know, The Bachelor is certainly making her edit not great. Joey doesn't know what to do. He says again he's not going to get to the truth of it. So that's it. We go to the night portion of the date. Both Maria and Sydney look amazing. And Joey does this just like brutal, makes them answer in front of each other. And basically says like, do we have a connection? Are you into me? They both say yes. I mean, Maria's answer felt more real. Sydney's answer felt more scripted. And it's obvious. I mean, I don't think that Sydney, she's probably telling the truth, but they just don't have a connection yet. And Maria and him do. So it's just more real with Maria. But it was all brutal that like he doesn't at the night portion, does not take them away. It's like, boom. He's like a man and he can do it. He's like, I'm gonna do it right in front of you. Maria gets the rose. She just looks incredible. And then she kisses him so intensely. And I've said this before. Maria like grabs the back of his head and pulls him in. And she's just like squirming all over him. Like she's so into it. And I firmly believe that like he does not want to send her home because of how physically attractive he is to her. I'm sure like emotionally he is too, because he says like he's on his toes and she's so mysterious, he doesn't know what to expect, and that's like mentally fun too, but the physical I think is taking over there. Now we're going to go to the rose ceremony. Maria shows that she does have some humility. She's everyone feels some type of way about Sydney going home, whether good or bad, and Maria's just like, I've got my rose. Other people want to get time. I had a 2-on-1 date. I'm going to give other people time, which is just super cool. Um, let's see, like just way to be show some humility and be really cool about it. Joey was a rocking host. He comes out, he addresses Lexi, he addresses Maria, he addresses Sydney. I just think Joey's crushing it as the Bachelor. Um, Jen at the rose ceremony. We didn't get a lot of Jen this episode, but I really liked the whole toes in the water. She looked incredible. She felt safe and valued the day that they went surfing. She says it's weird how safe she feels around him. And remember, she had the deteriorating relationship with her dad that made her not necessarily trust men. It just feels like she's top 4 vibes for sure. I do not think it'll be easy for him to send her home. I don't know if I see her winning it. I mean, I could see her being like top 2, even top 3, maybe top 2, but um I think I think he's going to have a hard time not picking Daisy. I'm starting to lean like I don't know. I don't know. I think Daisy's in first place. Edwina was a lot of fun. Caitlin had a good little minute with him there. Um, Medina, I really thought Medina was great this episode. Yeah, there was the little drama thing, but when she has her talk with him, she gives him a night. She talks about how Medina means a city closed in by walls. She says she has not been vulnerable with him. She does do a little bit of vulnerability there. They did a trust fall. It was just really cool. Then we get Maria Allison and Kelsey A throwing grapes in each other's mouths. We see Leia get upset. She wants to continue the drama. Um, then we see Kelsey A makes a postcard. They laugh. She goes in for the hardcore kisses again. You know, Joey's not going to hate that. Then we see at the end here, Leia just looks like a gangster. And she basically takes Medina aside and was like, just a second. I gotta take a sip here. Okay, so she does the thing that I absolutely hate. And she basically is like, hey, we all are friends with Sydney, and Sydney got sent home. And I thought you were like Team Sydney, and now you're being nice to the enemy. But what we know about, and I mean, what we know about Medina is that she's not like, even when the whole drama with Sydney was going down, she did not want to be a part of that at all. And she squashed it right away with Maria and fist bumped, and they were good. And yeah, she was friends with Sydney, but like she didn't want to be part of the drama. And so she's just an extremely nice person, and she avoids drama at all costs. And she says to Leia, like, I'm just trying to navigate all this. Like this whole process of going on this show is clearly not easy for Medina. I don't know how she got signed up. I don't know how she auditioned. She's an amazing, beautiful woman. I think she's crushing it on the show, but she clearly doesn't love the confrontation. She doesn't like being part of the confrontation with the girls. That's for sure. And Leia is like not having any problem with that. She's like, confrontation is fine. Leia's made her moments throughout the show. She got the card. She didn't want to take that away from someone. She could have stolen a one-on-one, but she doesn't. She throws that in the fire. She got to be like on the whole charity after the rose thing. She's just had a couple big moments where like we all know who she is. But I remember on charities after the rose season, like there is this part of Leia's personality that's like just, I mean, gangster is such a not great word because it has so many connotations to it that I don't mean. I just mean she's got like this, like she says, like she has high standards for the friends she keeps, and it just feels like, my crew, we have high standards, but she has a little bit of like whatever, like bravado with it. And it's just so silly to me. It just like makes me laugh a little bit because, like, I don't know. It's a little bit ironic because she's saying she has high standards, but the way she's carrying herself in that exact moment doesn't come across with high standards to me. Like, I think the way Medina comes across and carrying herself and saying, like, well, I don't have to be mean to Maria just because I'm friends with Sydney and Sydney went home. Like, I'm trying to navigate this. Maria's a person. And then we see Maria later being like, why are the girls mad at me because Medina's being nice to me? You shouldn't. This isn't like we're middle school and we're all just mean to Maria now. Like, there is just a part I've noticed that no matter how mature people get or how old people get, um, it's not, no, sorry, not no matter how mature people get, but no matter what age someone is, some people mature and they behave a certain way, and other people are always going to be childish and going to do immature, condescending, passive aggressive, just silly things. And we all do it to some degree, but this is live television, and who you truly are eventually comes out. We're in week 4. I mean, they've all been getting to know each other now for weeks in very close quarters. And I've truly felt like this came out at the After the Rose with Charity. And I've seen it a few times in the show. This is who she is. It's like, oh, like, I have my clique, my group of friends, and we like ride or die together. And that's more important than anything. Like, and it's just like, to me, it's very not there for Joey, there for the wrong reasons, there for the notoriety. Like, I mean, it is, of course, it's like a once in a lifetime. You're applying to get on The Bachelor. She basically won against the other contestant for, I don't remember like how it happened, but she won. And the odds of making it on this show aren't great. I mean, it's probably one in thousands. And so you've only got a small window of time too. You got to be beautiful. You've got to have a lot of talents. You've got to be single. You got to be a certain age. Like, eventually they're in, I don't know, 40, whatever, like something like that. You're out. So you got only like maybe 10 shots at it, and she makes it on. So it's like, obviously, I'm not judging people that go on there for like all these reasons, but it just comes across very thick with her, and it's all about like, you know this wanting of sticking together with her friends and being mean to Maria. It's just like, you just have to accept that Sydney went home, and you're not there to be friends with Sydney. You can be friends with Sydney, like the show's going to end whether he picks you or not, and you can rekindle your friendship with Sydney. You can reach out to her and be like, hey, it sucked that you had to go home, and I told the girls that I didn't want you to go home and that I had your back when you left. Sorry. But you don't have to be Maria about it, like mean to Maria. And you certainly don't have to go up to Medina and like be like, what the heck were you doing? And to be fair to Leah, she said she was really gentle about it. And she was like, she knew that Medina could only handle so much. And she was very gentle about it. So that actually I was impressed by, because she like knew, like she didn't want to come down hard on Medina, but then like immediately she goes back to her friends that she can be a little bit more real with, and she shows that like what I would consider to be a little bit more childish, like I mean, gangster is the best way I can describe it right now because I don't have a big enough vocabulary apparently. But she just shows that like part of her that I don't know. It wasn't for me. I don't think that's what Joey's into either. I think I've said this almost every episode, but like I have no doubt that Joey is not picking her at the end. She's going to make it so far. Probably a very similar producer thing with Jess. She's going to make it halfway. She's entertaining TV. She's probably a wonderful person. Good for her, but like what we see at the end too, and Maria's saying she's all in her feels and she's leaving the show and she doesn't like it, and then they kind of like cut back and forth between that and Leia talking to Joey, and she's kind of saying she was shocked. A lot of the girls are shocked. Maria's not good. We think you should send her home. And then they show, I don't know if it's just a good editing, but they show a clip from next week and it looks like Maria maybe is leaving, and they show Leia like being happy about it, and it's just like it's almost evil, like it doesn't make me admire or like look up to Leia at all. It makes her way less attractive than like Medina, and if we were just physically going off of a picture, I'd probably be more attracted to Leia than Medina. But like when you get to see their personality in this very specific example, Medina just comes across like so mature, such a good person, being able to be above all the silly drama of it, and Leia is like totally opposite. um and it's very ugly, to use a harsh word, even though she's not ugly, just this behavior in this moment. So major cliffhanger. Does Maria go home, or is Joey going to be able to talk her off the ledge? I don't think Jess from Your Mom and Dad would have said that Maria goes home early if she didn't have some reason to think that. Um, I really hope she's not going to go home yet. But I think we've seen a couple times now where she just recognizes that the girls don't like her, and it's got to suck. Um, if I was her, I would be thinking that okay, there was 15 of you. Now there's 14 because Sydney went home, and the one person that went home was like mortal enemy number one. So now you've got some of the friends, but they were never as vocal about any of it as Sydney was. So maybe they'll continue to push the envelope a little bit, but they don't directly attack you like Sydney did. They're talking about it in their little group, right? But we know that what two or three other women are going to go home, probably at least two. So you're going to be down to one of 12 women moving forward, and you're friends with Allison. It seems like who's she playing grapes? Kelsey A was like throwing grapes with her too. So you've got at least one or two friends. You're in Malta now. You're going to spend the rest of the week, but then you're going to go. You're probably going to travel and you're going to fly to some other country. And there's like in one more week, you're going to be down to maybe 9 or 8. I don't know. Eventually, and you kind of know that you have a strong relationship with him. So as long as you continue to build on that and focus on you and not the other women, and just kind of mind your own business, like, yeah, you have to deal with some of like the women don't like you, right? But if you're Maria, what I'm thinking is you're going to make it farther than a lot of these women, and eventually they're going to start to go home. Like, yes, would it suck if it was you and Leia, the top two, and you just every week, every day she was there and it just sucked? But I mean, you just have to know that like Leia has no connection with them. And so it's not going to be her. It's going to be you and Daisy and you and Lexi and him and Jen. And yeah, you're probably not going to beat them. So, like, but maybe you get to do hometowns, and maybe you become the Bachelorette next time. Maybe you make it to Bachelor in Paradise. Who knows what could happen? But you're definitely going to make it pretty far. And each week, people that don't like you are going to be going away. mean, maybe not all of them, but they're eventually going to skim down. So if I'm her, I'm definitely trying to stick through it. I mean, really, I'm putting myself in my shoes. Like, I hate big groups of other guys, especially loud groups. I wouldn't like Maria if I was one of the other women. But if I had a strong connection with the Bachelorette and I'm on the show and we're down to 14 and my mortal enemy just got sent home on a 2-on-1 and they picked me instead, even if there was 3 other guys that were outspoken about hating me, I'd be like, yeah, I can do it. There's 6 more weeks. It'll basically be me and 3 other dudes. Yeah, I can do it. I could definitely do it. All right, so I think that that's all for this time. Next episode is tomorrow. It's very late right now. I don't know how. I've got a busy day tomorrow. I've got hard 75 day number 3. So my hope is to be able to get to that tomorrow if I can. And then the next episode is going to be part 2 of The Third Door, which I've been reading every day, working my way through it as part of the Hard 75. I'm excited to talk about that. One of the topics in there is your master mentor, finding that, it's the dream mentor. That's what they call it. And I remember going through the book the first time. You got to find that dream mentor. And so it's a really cool story that Alex Benayan has for his real example, but also it's just so true in life. You got to have that mentor. All right. So thank you for joining me. If you've listened this far, thank you so much. If you could go out to YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to get to 50 so that I can do YouTube lives. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.